forged from the love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer. With boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare, side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Heavenly Father, we come before you at the start of this new day, giving thanks for life, for health, and the opportunity to serve through this station. We ask for your divine presence to guide us in all we do. Bless this broadcast, that it may be a source of inspiration, joy, and unity to all who tune in. Whether near or far, may our words uplift, our music heal, and our message bring light to those who need it most. We pray for our listeners, wherever they may be. Grant them strength for the day ahead, peace in their hearts, and success in all they put their hands to. Cover those traveling with your protection, and those at home with your comfort and provision. Lord, may everything we do bring honor to you and be a blessing to others. Guide our steps, bless our efforts, and let this station be a vessel of positivity and hope. In your name we pray. Amen.
Your voice, your soundtrack, your station. New Net Radio.
Take me non-stop. I can't stay in New York City when there's sunshine and fun in my country. Lions is the place with the jamming, with Cali and Charlie's roots clashing. Everyone happy partying, and I'm freezing in Brooklyn. Darling, Lauren, don't cry, I'm leaving. I can't miss this jamming. Your baby, then you could come and join me inside Kateri Steel Band, jamming with some man woman. Boom 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 boom, boom 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 boom.
Show, bringing you the energy, music, and vibes to start your day right.
Hey, Lauren, it's time to get up. It's time to wake up. It's time to rise up. It's time for the New Era TT Radio Breakfast Show. Good morning, everybody, wherever you may be. Good to have you.
Don't cry and try to convince.
Trinidad and Tobago neighbors in the Caribbean, friends who are streaming all around the globe, and we're happy to have you
You start feeling low.
on this good-looking Thursday morning. It's a throwback Thursday.
Body, just make a quick reservation.
So let me say much thanks to the Heavenly Father for bringing us together for another day, and everything that we do, dear God, let it be a blessing, honor to you. Sir Charles, that's me. Happy am I to be in your company. And of course, together with my colleagues, we want to welcome each and every one of you. This is your Get Up and Go. Thank you for making us your breakfast show.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The breakfast show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line. Let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Oh, oh, good vibes rolling through the air. The breakfast show energy everywhere. We talk, we laugh, we make you think. Grab your doubles or your morning drink.
The weekend begins tonight, people, at a second after midnight, and don't you forget it. The weekend is here. It is Thursday, and of course, and you know we love a weekend on the breakfast show. So good morning to you, wherever you're watching, viewing, or listening. Watching and viewing is the same thing. Listening to us from wherever you are in Trinidad and Tobago, up the Caribbean, or wherever you are on the planet, a special good morning to you. And thank you for choosing the breakfast show as your morning cup of tea, so to speak. And of course, if you're in a part of the world where it ain't morning, thanks for choosing us anyway.
Like Japan.
Like Japan. So good morning. And of course, let me say a special good morning to my co-hosts, Wendell and Sir Charles. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Sir Charles. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe, especially, as Richard said, those who are, it's not morning, it's evening or night, maybe. You know, those in that part of the world, like Michael Robinson and maybe even some others. I don't know where Ron DeSantis Jr. is. I think he's in Sweden, he said. So he and all it might be also afternoon or evening by him. You know, I'm not sure exactly. I've never been to Sweden, you know. I have to put that on my bucket list, actually. You know, but good morning. We're here. We're happy to be in the land of the living. Those who would have lost loved ones, we express our deepest condolences. I had to say condolences to somebody recently. Who was it? I can't remember. But Liverpool striker, what's his name? Oh God, why am I so unprepared for news this morning? Liverpool striker Diogo Jota died in a car crash. He and his brother died in a car crash.
Oh my God.
Yesterday. So, in case there are any Liverpool fans listening, our deepest condolences from the breakfast show. All right.
Well, that's horrible news before the good news.
Oh, you know, I forget that you always like to actually start with the good news, but we have good news anyway. But one of the good news is one of the good news is, well, it wasn't local, so maybe that's why I said it. It's just today is the birthday of Jerry Dollaby. Jerry Dollaby is an ardent fan of this show. He's a man who controls windball cricket. He does a fantastic job of keeping windball cricket in the limelight. Happy birthday, my friend Jerry. He was one of windball cricketer's best cricketers. You understand? For those of you listening, like Anthony Tinto and Leon Bowler and them, you would know about the prowess, I should say, of Jerry Dollaby. When he came in, opposing teams used to have fear when Jerry Dollaby came in the wicket. You understand? So happy birthday, my good friend Jerry, and happy birthday to Ariel Long Gonzalez, Kathy Ann Walker, Fatima Silva, Vanessa Jacob, she used to be at the corporation, Victoria Madhu, and Siraj Issa. All right, they're all celebrating birthdays today. All right, happy birthday. All right, today is July 3rd. Tomorrow is
All right.
in the United States.
All right, so I suppose we could just get straight into our good news segment for this morning. You know, we always like to start with good news, despite when there's tragic story. And of course, if you're new to the program, we always try to start the program with some good news before we get into the nitty-gritty of stuff going on in TNT and across the planet. This is our good news
Let's see
segment.
what you've come up with.
All right, so that's our good news. That should have put a smile on your face. That was Brian Lara. Brian Lara's dog was lost. And of course, it was found, which is always good news. I mean, I have lost a dog already, so I understand when you lose dogs and you find them back, it's like dogs become a member of your family. Despite what people may think, they become a member of your family. And so when a dog is lost, it's like a member of your family is lost.
Yeah.
You know,
But
so
for somebody like Brian Lara to put out a public plea about his lost dog for help in finding it, and someone actually returned the dog to him, that has to be great news, you know. And you could see the joy on his children's faces.
yeah. You become very attached to your animals, your pets and stuff.
Yeah.
And some people don't even consider their dog like a pet anymore. Huh? Their dog is part of the family.
Richard, I lost a turtle. One of my turtles got lost at time I left on the water in the pond, and it overflowed, so the turtle came out. All of them came out, but I couldn't find back one. And for months, I could not find this turtle until a day it just showed up. It probably was always in the yard, but I didn't know where. Until the day I just saw it, it just reappeared. Imagine the joy I felt. And that's what turtle, if you know what I mean. Yeah. That you can't hug, you can't do much with that. So I imagine what you could do with a dog. I used to mind dogs, so I know how special dogs are to people.
Yeah. Yeah, but dogs and cats, because some people are cat people, so
yeah,
they love their cats.
Yeah,
So
I know some.
I mean, I'm more of a dog person, but there's some people, cats. Cats are kind of independent, but but people and their pets. It's
monkeys, parrots, you name it. People have all manner of things. Hamsters, snakes. Some people dare to have a snake as a pet.
Yeah, they do.
Maybe one day we should do a program like that. What type of pet did you have as a child, or do you have now? Maybe we could find out from people what type of pet you keep. You know, interesting.
So that's all good news. So Brian Lara found back his dog, and that's the good news for this morning, which you just saw. That should put a smile on your face and make you feel good. And straight from good news into making you feel bad.
What is that? How are you going to make people feel bad, Richard?
That is like one topsy-turvy show. Oh, that was great news. Now let's bring you down.
Let's bring in the real news. Well, I don't know. I don't know that we have any bad news. Well, I mean, we have a story.
Well, you have news that can make you a little, I suppose, can make you a little irritated. And here's one that can make you irritated. So from making you feel warm and cuddly to making you feel a little irritated.
So I've watched that video several times, right? And I was in a chat with Jason Peru, Chef Jason Peru. He put it up, right? And I made a comment because it was so clear that that guy was armed. I don't know if you saw when he pulled his jersey over what looked like a firearm on his waist. You saw that?
I didn't
What's
notice.
back at the very beginning of the video? What's back at the very beginning of the video? You'll see what I'm talking about.
That's not.
Because I was seeing on the chat too that he's a police officer or an army officer. People couldn't differentiate they couldn't make up their mind which one he is. What's that? See that? You saw when he pulled his jersey over what looked like a firearm on his waist?
Well, yeah, it's not very clear though.
No, it's not clear, but it looked that way. That's the action of someone pulling a jersey over a firearm.
Yeah, but it's a very disturbing video. I thought I saw it yesterday, but it went viral. Quite frankly, it went viral across Trinidad and Tobago, certainly, because there was an incident on the highway in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not so sure. It looks like the South Highway, but I'm not so sure if it's I'm not so sure which turnoff that is. Because it's a turnoff because it's separating. So. But I don't know, but that level of road rage, and obviously he came across very, very much as a bully, he did. So people have been speculating who he was. I don't know if people have found the actual, you didn't see you saw his vehicle take off in the distance. Right. But I don't know if anybody zoomed up or anything like that, if the video footage was allowing you to do that. But so maybe on social media, people have speculated between army and police, but it seems to be settling on army. But I don't know.
Well, I think in the same chat with Jason Peru, someone had said that Ian Allen had found who he was, had identified him. You know, let me see if I could find that, because that's on Facebook. That he was identified. I don't know if they didn't put his name, but Jason Peru, you know, because that was a huge video yesterday, showing. Let me see in the comments. There were several comments on that, right? It says as I said, it says that he might have been a police officer, and someone apparently says they know him. You understand? That he's accustomed doing that. So
accustomed doing what?
Bullying. Well, he has an attitude then. He clearly has an attitude. You understand?
Yeah.
That's what's in the chat. You know, this chat stupid sometimes on Facebook, right? But one saying he's an army man, and then other things saying he's a policeman. So I don't know. You know? But they said Ian Allen program was able to identify who he was. I don't know if, maybe Ian Allen would probably post it at some point in time, you know? But he clearly, that action is clearly looked like the person was armed, you know? And what prompted the incident, God alone knows. Nobody knows the backstory to it. You know what I mean? They're saying he was given a bad drive, but that's how you react if you get a bad drive, Richard.
You get bad drives almost every day in Trinidad. Yeah. Somebody cut in front of you. You get momentarily irritated, and then you just let it go. As you say, Wendell, let it go.
It's the only way, Richard.
Yeah, just let it go. You know, they are in a hurry. I will often make up a story. Okay, their child is sick and they're rushing to get home. I would just say that's what it is. Something,
There
some.
was a video too in Arima, coming out of Arima the other day, with a black SUV, a black X-Trail, it looked like, going around the corner on Tampuna Road right here, Richard, and skidding off the road and running off up into the pavement and into a railing. Didn't you see that video? You know, Marlon Pierre, I think he's a DJ.
Yeah, I know Marlon.
Marlon posted it on his page.
Oh, okay.
And that car was going around the corner so fast, taking the bend so quick, that he ran off the road. If there were people on the pavement, they would have been mowed down. But I observed in the video, and I looked for these things. The car had on hazard lights. So clearly there was an emergency that car was dealing with. Whoever was in that car was dealing with. The car had, so it was either one or two things. Because unmarked police cars, police use unmarked black X-Trails also, right? But I looked for the antenna on the top of the car. I didn't see that. So it probably wasn't an unmarked police car. You know, the police cars have those little short black antennas on top of them.
I don't monitor police that much to notice. That's a you and Lincoln conversation.
They have these short black antennas on top. I didn't notice that on the car. But the car had on hazard lights, for sure. So that car, and it was going around the corner way too fast. And it ran off the road on top of the pavement. And I don't know what happened. The video wasn't long enough to show what happened after it did.
Maybe the accelerator was stuck or something.
But they had on hazard lights. So as I say, they were clearly racing to something. They clearly had an emergency, you know? Because when people rushing people to the hospital or to a doctor, sometimes they do that. They lose all sense of reason, especially if it's a pregnant wife you're trying to get help for. You lose all sense of reason. Because she's screaming, you screaming, everybody's screaming. So Charles, like, you're familiar with that one, boy.
Who?
The Russian and the pregnant wife. You know how you giggle there?
Yes, helped many of them, I suppose. That is good.
All right, so, let's greet our people in the stream, in the comment section, Mendel.
And so, Charles, to answer your question, what Zena said yesterday, it's true. You can see.
Oh, okay.
When you go live
all right,
on YouTube.
so can we get into the comment section and people saying good morning?
All right. Suzanne Jessup came up first again today. God our Father and His Son Jesus Christ. Suzanne always starts off with a prayer. Good morning from Suzanne, Suzette, and Gemma. Joyce Phillips says, top of the morning, guys. Boy Videsi from Debe. Erica Charles also says good morning from Mova. Wendy Ann James from Iraq West says good morning. Marcia Rock from Orlando, Florida. Melissa from Champlain. Marlon Motley from North Valsain.
Good morning, Marlon.
You notice I've learned now to stop after I call certain names to allow you to do your extra greeting, right? You notice that, right?
Good morning, Sherwin and Juliet.
Good morning, Slick Money Grip and Sherwin and Juliet Kerr from Arima. Mo Gaines, Mo Gaines, I haven't seen that name for a while. Carol Guevara says good morning. Brennan Smith from beautiful Goodwood in Tobago, which a lot of people would like to think they're from, Brennan. Anthony Tinto says good morning. He's from Ontario in Canada. Wayne Ramsey from Fort Lauderdale. Subhash Mangal from Woodland. So we have Goodwood and Woodland in the house this morning. Norris Ferguson from BV. Good morning. Cheryl Johnson from Malabar. Robert Taylor from Fernandina Beach in Florida. Julia Batiste, Claire Lendo Rollins, Anne-Marie.
Good morning, Julia.
You know Julia?
Yeah, I met Julia.
Oh, I think I did say that.
Yeah.
Anne-Marie Watson. DL feels like Friday already. Rena Hoodoo Jennings from PT Valley. Kathy-Ann Charles from Cascade. Or is it St. Anne's? Oh, God. So, Charles, I was to tell you, I want to join Kathy-Ann and saying that was an excellent tune-up choice this morning, right?
Thanks much.
Yeah. Lambert Bruce from El Dorado. Adina Pollard Simon. That's a name that I know, but I don't know if you've ever chatted on this program before. Garfield Hazel says good morning. And Adina sends a special good morning to Sir Charles. I don't know what's, and then she says Richard and Wendell. You're lucky. You get away there, Adina. Ozzy Molino. Doreen Pierce says good morning from North Carolina. Gavin Frank from Powder Magazine. Slick Money Grip says thank you, Sir Charles. Anthony Tinto, happy birthday, Jerry. That's Jerry Dollaby. If anybody knows him, send a nice ice cream and cake his way today, right? I don't think he drinks. Odell Guy says good morning. Diane Payne, good morning. Net. Eva Smith says good morning also. Trinidad Margot. Rena Jennings says, I'm so glad he got back Moko. He offered a nice reward. And Rena Voodoo Jennings is a serious dog or pet person too, eh? Magic. Trini gets fit. CJ from New York says, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, CJ.
Mm-hmm. Donna Ramlochan says, good morning, Charles, Richard, and Wendell. CJ says he also looked like he was armed. Subhash Mangal says that was the Shagwana's turn off, Richard.
Oh, okay. Was it? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Oh, and Subhash has basically said where he's from.
From the Monster Gang in the army. You mean Monster? I suppose that N is supposed to be an M.
Mm-hmm. What's that now?
I don't know.
The army have a gang called Monster? Okay.
Monster Gang, yes, he corrected it.
Yeah, he corrected it. All right. Elite Monster Gang. Okay. Well, look at that. Ron DeSantis Jr. says, good morning. Not happy this morning. Give me good news. Why are you not happy, Ron? You're alive. And I suspect and I trust that you're healthy. That's enough reason to be happy. Good morning, guys from Japan. Richard and Wendell, stop. I'm eating and all my food spilled on my mouth. Michael, we know this story. Boy. Melchizedek says, good morning, Andre Reno. Maureen Dilchan Maharaj. Good morning, Miss Maharaj. Nice chatting with you yesterday. Nazir Ali Ilarizan says, good morning. Chevon Shogun Sherma Paul says, good morning. My grandson Cristiano also says, good morning. So we have to remember when we say Sherma, we have to also say and Cristiano. Alison Haynes and Andre Be Real. That's a new name also. All right. So greetings to you all. So Charles, you have any?
Yeah, man. We have a good bit, and that is why we say the stream continues. Other things are happening on the platform. Dinah does a pageantry program on a Monday evening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. Let me say good morning to Margaret Thomas. Margaret came in very early on the WhatsApp, so thank you very much, Margaret. Ashton, Archbishop Ashton Clark, good day to you. Have a fantastic day. Oliver Manwaring, good day. The folks at Horatio Services, we're going to say good morning, and we will be welcoming Horatio to the platform in a little bit. Also, let me say good morning to Kent, to Vincent Ashton, and Junior Best, good day to you. Carlin out there in Caradage, good day to you. GNC Auto Security, GNC, you need to call me back. Slick Money Grip, good day to you. Mr. Beeps out there in PT Valley, good day to you. Mr. Billy, a very special good morning to you. He said that guy is a bully, he needs counseling. Captain Ron out there in Orlando, good day to you. Terry and Peters.
If Mr. Billy was still in the service, he would have dealt with him.
Oh, a long time. Yeah. Terry Ann Peters, good morning. Good to know that you are feeling a lot better. She was a little under the weather, as we say. And of course, Mr. DeSantis is also
What's happening with him? What can we do for him this morning?
He said if he was in Trinidad, would have had no recourse. I don't understand what he's talking about.
He being militant.
Yeah. I feel I don't want to know either. I don't think you're quite in Sweden. It's
talking like he want to be militant.
Yeah. So talk about action and reaction.
Run, cool it there, run.
Yeah, so that is what we have so far. People coming in. Yeah.
Okay, so that's it.
All right. Hill Benj also came in at the last minute there, says good morning today. Blessings to you, gentlemen, and all on the breakfast show. All right. So good to have you all. Great to have you all, as a matter of fact. And that interview with the Commissioner of Police, Alistair Guevara, yesterday created a lot of waves. It had endless views on YouTube and on all the other platforms. I think Mr. Guevara represented himself well. Miss Archie also messaged me later on in the day to say it was an excellent interview, and she thought he also represented the service very well. You know? So good morning, Commissioner Guevara, wherever you are this morning. Hopefully planning and plotting to make sure Trinidad and Tobago is a much safer place. You know? Lord knows we need it. After all the stress we're going through, including the political stress, my goodness. When that will settle down, I don't know. Hopefully soon.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is supposed to arrive in the country today.
They're saying I'm here this morning, but I don't understand that. I don't understand. I'm not sure what time. They haven't really revealed the time he's coming, eh?
No, but I suppose that's for security reasons.
I guess so.
Yeah. So, but I know there are several restrictions in Port of Spain already today, specifically along Dock Road and Ryson Road there. So there are restrictions on that road in terms of where you can park and stuff like that. And there are even more restrictions tomorrow in Port of Spain proper. And on several of those main streets, I don't think you'll be able to park. I know, like St. Vincent, Abercrombie is on some of those cross streets. So whatever you needed to do in town today up that side, and that you were planning to do tomorrow, don't do it today.
Yes.
Do it today, not tomorrow.
Yes.
And of course, if you're planning to park on Dock Road and by that post office section there, you know,
don't be in this place, huh?
Yeah. Well, they'll have to use probably the car park. They're probably trying to get away from using the car park, but you'll have to use the car park this morning. And you'll have a choice between Furnace and of course, the one by Hyatt there.
There's also that one down at the end of South Key. That's normally very empty. That new huge space that they made a car park with. I don't know if you know it, but is it the bottom of St. Vincent?
That's Ansa Macal.
Ansa Macal, yeah. That's a huge car park that's not very used, you know.
You know, I don't think you can just drive in and use it.
You gotta pay, I think.
No, I think you have to be like a monthly.
Huh?
I think it's something like that.
It's so empty then?
But I don't know how often you pass there, but
anytime I'm going into Port of Spain.
So, but I think it's monthly. I don't think they allow hourly parking, which is what you're thinking.
Okay.
I don't think they allow hourly parking. I'm subject to correction, but I don't think so. You know what I'm wondering, Wendell? What is because where it's not the post office, is that where the land and surveys used to be on Ryson Road? That was earmarked for the new building for the Trinidad, etc. Is that project now paused?
We'd have to get Minister Michelle Benjamin to ask her.
And then you heard the disturbing news of 4,000 forestry workers being terminated.
Yeah.
I don't know what is going on with the UNC.
Yeah.
In terms of the termination of all of these jobs. Why do they think that is a good approach to the start of your governance? 4,000 forestry workers, because any worker without a job is a citizen in distress.
Yes.
4,000 forestry workers apparently were terminated. You already had the roughly 11,000 CPEP people.
Yep.
And then you also had some other contracts that were terminated in Wassa and other places.
Yeah.
That amounts to nearly 15,000 people, roughly.
Well, about 19 I was hearing in Parliament yesterday.
Without jobs and terminated, not even in your first month in office. How can that be a priority of any government? I'm sorry. I know there are a lot of UNC supporters out there, but how can that be the priority of any government? That you put 19,000 or 15,000, whatever the number is, of citizens out of work. I find it befuddling. I can't understand why that's a priority.
Yeah.
I can't. And they need to explain it. I think they need to explain it because you have to multiply it. Let's say it's 15,000. Let's go with the lesser amount. Let's say it's 15,000 people. You have to multiply that by 2 or 3. So that is almost 50,000 people affected, because these people have families for which they contribute. They may not be the main breadwinner, or they may be the main or sole. It'll be a mixture. But how can that be something at a government that went on a platform of everybody wins and that you care? Because a lot of people felt that the PNM did not care. And yet, within your first month in office, nearly 15,000 plus people are out of work.
Yeah.
How does that connect to what you said? And is there nobody empathetic in the UNC at this point with regard to the fact that people are without work? I find it amazing, and I don't understand what the justification is, but it's certainly whatever honeymoon period they had is dying fast in people's minds.
Yeah.
And they need to do some PR as some advice as to why you're doing all of that as a priority. And because these are citizens, whether you think they supported the PNM or not, and even if somebody supported the PNM, that's not a reason for you to make sure they're fired.
Well, I was going to add that now because
that would be crazy.
Yeah, someone sent me a message along those lines this morning.
That would be crazy. That in your first month that you're out to get people who voted PNM, that's crazy, and that's unpatriotic at core in a democracy.
Yeah.
So I'm not understanding what's going on with the UNC. I know there are UNC people in the stream. I don't know if you all understand it, but it's still
maybe they like what's going on. Maybe
it's
they
still
like
19,000. I hold no brief for either party, but I'm just saying I'm thinking about the citizens, and that 19,000 or 15,000 people multiplied by 2 or 3 in terms of families affected, might be more, takes it up very close to 50,000 people affected by a loss of income in your first month in office.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if
that's wild. I find that wild. I can't see how that is something that is good governance. I'm sorry. Somebody needs to explain it to me. They need to have a media conference and explain that so I could understand what your thinking is.
Yeah. So I said, if it's something even you were saying, probably okay, people who maybe are aligned to the last regime as contractors and that sort of thing, but you can't go about it doing it that kind of way, because even if you want to get rid of the contractors who may have been supporting or aligned to the last administration, you can't just uproot your contractors, because that has a ripple effect coming down the road.
Well, you see, I don't know. History is a hell of a thing, because if people remember in 2015 when the government changed, just prior to the government changing, the UNC, the People's Partnership government, also renewed a series of contracts. When they had interviewed the then minister, Dr. Rudal Muninar, he said, because contracts were renewed on election day of that year, he said, but that's a working day. And those contracts ran the full gamut of 3 years. I know. People know.
You know what is puzzling to me, and maybe UNC people listening, and I mean, they need to talk to their representatives. I can't believe that UNC people who support the party and are loyalists to the party, just like the PNM as loyalists, are okay with this. I can't believe that they're okay with it, that 19 or 15,000 plus people are now without jobs, because some of those people are UNC supporters, no doubt.
Some of those people voted UNC.
Yeah, they're UNC supporters. And it's almost coming across to me, and I'm subject to correction until the PR machinery of the UNC condescends to speak with us. But it almost seems as if they're on a Republican path. Like in the US, it's almost like you're doing a Doge cut. You know, that you're going through certain agencies and just cutting people. That won't work in a Trinidad and Tobago situation.
Yeah.
We are too small a space. And there are a lot more people affected by that. And we're such a small space, but from the time you start doing those kind of cuts, if you're patterning yourself after the Republican Party, and many indications are that you are, until you dispel that notion, that's not workable in a Trinidad and Tobago space.
Yes.
Since when have governance become cruel and unempathetic? Come on.
Well, you know, I had this to say yesterday because Newsday called me yesterday concerning what's been happening. And I said, it's not what you do, but it's how you do it, you know, and to just, as I say, just swipe a axe straight across the top of people like that. Because it's not, you also counting, when you count the amount of people who've been fired by the amount of people who may be dependent on them in their immediate family. What about the shops and all the little parlors and all the other things that these people have been supporting in their neighborhood? Quite a lot more than you think it is, you know. You understand? And when you do it like that, because you're assuming that the people were hired by the PNM, so they have to be PNM. But you saw for yourself in the campaign that how these people gravitated to the UNC's platform. You saw it yourself in all neighborhoods all over the place. You saw that if the PNM didn't see that, well, something had to be wrong with them. That they didn't see that the very people that who you think would be supporting them gravitated to the UNC. And now where are they? Home, no job, no income. In a school holiday, approaching a school vacation, right? Where children need all manner of things, and where you have to be buying books and buying uniforms and whatnot. It just comes
I just can't see. I'm sorry, when I hear you, Wendell, and all of that is valid, but I just can't see why whatever amount, 15,000 plus jobs and citizens being out of work in your first month is good policy.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
But maybe there is a reason, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
And their PR machinery is getting to be piss poor like the PNM in explaining it. And when you're explaining stuff to us, don't come with smug arrogance. The PNM was kicked out for that. Be a little bit more empathetic in terms of speaking to the citizens of this country. Who chose you? The 53% who voted, who chose you? Be a little bit more empathetic in how you speak with them. I'm just saying. Look at this smug arrogance, which was just kicked out. A lot of people felt that the PNM was smug and arrogant.
Yeah, well, we know that because when I listened to, I had caused a message someone yesterday about, because, and I said this on the program before and I'm going to say it again. This is politics, right? It's not nice politics, but this is politics. So there are certain things I come to expect. You understand? So I'm listening to now Senator Faris Al-Rari. Senator Faris Al-Rari was this country's Attorney General for 6, 7 or 8 years. And his last job was as line minister for local government and rural development, where all these people are being sent to. All these people are being sent to. And I'm saying now, whilst Senator Faris Al-Rari might say, well, okay, this didn't come to me or whatever, I wasn't aware of this. If you're the line minister, you have to make sure, especially going into an election, that you secure people, which is what the UNC did in 2015. They made sure and secured people who they had put in certain positions. The PNM failed to do that. So, hey, coming to me now, I said, get somebody else to come and talk to me.
All right, gentlemen, we are really behind time with the headlines.
Yeah, all right, but I can do the headlines. I have papers.
Yeah. We didn't plan on this, but you know.
No, yeah, it just got really because it was something on my mind. Another thing I want to talk about is elections and boundaries. What the hell are you doing in Arima? You all have no intention to get more efficient. There is none. Elections and boundaries, yes, I'm talking to you all. You all have no intention of becoming more efficient. Whatever it is, it is. Long lines. If you reach by the election and boundaries office in Arima by 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., it have no more numbers, you know. You have to be there from 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the line waiting, you know. That is preposterous in 2025.
Yeah, to be across.
Preposterous. To renew an ID card, I will never have an ID card.
Me too.
I will never. It expired years ago. I have no interest because y'all are inefficient.
I had to wait across the road a morning with my son. Well, you know, there's no shelter around there either, too, eh?
No.
God forbid it's rainfall.
No, there is no shelter. And what the hell? And Penelope Beckles, you are the MP for Rima. Advocate for Remians. And elections and boundaries office is ridiculously placed.
Yes.
It's small and pokey. Come on, do better.
Yep.
Mayor for Rima, well, we don't know if you migrate.
But wait, what become of him?
We don't know, nobody knows. And the Rima Borough Council, what the hell are you all doing? Advocate for the people of Rima. Elections and boundaries, come on.
He must be waiting on another convention to see some country girl come down.
Last thing you see people lining up, it irritates me. That's not irritating you all. Why am I getting so hot and touchy about?
Headlines, please.
Let me do the headlines. What are annoying?
When they'll work on the poll, please.
Right.
Finally gets the headlines going.
So the poll had to come out of Richard this morning.
No. Well, we discussed several things. Just now, let me take a deep breath.
Story that I wanted
from EBC.
This is the story that I wanted.
When they'll do not distract Richard again. Oh,
No,
God.
I just say the story that I
Get the
wanted.
headlines.
We'll do tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. So the Daily Express for this morning, of course, just in case you didn't know, today is Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. Hilaire hits back. Former central bank governor issues pre-action letter to AG over wrongful termination. When we expected that would come, and it came. Opposition, 4,600 forestry workers sent home. Ex-CPEP workers protest. I think that this was in St. Madeleine, was it? And let me see if it was in St. Madeleine. So that's all that is on the front page of the Daily Express. Of course, the news goes around. Changes at Plebdeco board resigns. National living wage coming, so says Labour Minister Leroy Batiste. 25 suspension letters to dock workers withdrawn. Fraser into World Final. West Indies looking to rebound. And Hetman's heroic thrilling victory for Seattle Oakers in MLC. So that's it for the front and back pages of the Daily Express. The Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today, front page. Wickedness. PNM claims 4,608 workers on breadline after government axes 144 reforestation contractors. CPEP protest. Former central bank governor sues government over sudden firing. State welcome for India PM Modi today despite protests. Back page, Brappet in the spotlight. Eye on the prize, and that's it for the front and the back of the Guardian. The Newsday for today, front page. Widow gets 500,000 over failed case, and that's Marine Dilchan Maharaj. We were going to discuss that this morning, but I suppose we can discuss it tomorrow morning. Maybe speak with her tomorrow. Or is that what you're planning to do right now?
Yes. We'll do the story on Miss Maureen Dilchan Maharaj tomorrow, right?
Okay, we will speak with her. We will speak with her concerning that case. PNM alarmed over reforestation program shut down. 4,600 more workers fired. Modi, TT visit will strengthen bonds. Of course, there are some objections. I think particularly from the Muslim community, which I had raised yesterday about that whole secular democracy in India. That has diminished under Modi's rule. Uncharted waters. Cummins anticipates Aussie's first test in Grenada and TT gear up for US challenge at CWI under 19 champs. Or is why I stick comedy and laughter? That's what will save the world, yes? Comedy.
Well, now you know why I opened a wholesale retail liquor mart too, right?
Yeah. Comedy is what is going to save the world. That's what it is.
I buy for myself and I lime right there. I don't lime nowhere else again. I take the little pittance I get from it.
Did you send a pool? Oh, you're
Well,
busy bumping your gum, and you had something to do.
Well, we could simply ask people, do you think
I'm giving you the poll in a professional manner so that I can put it up on the screen, please.
Okay.
This is not some parlor program. We always have to air our business on air.
This show is a family show, you know. And you have seen her just call and talk to us. And Mrs. R, this has to be a family show.
What you said, Sir Charles?
I was asking if you finish with the headlights.
Yes, I have.
Okay. All right. So while Wendell comes up with the poll, Richard, we can take a couple of calls very quickly, people. Yeah.
Richard, there's a message for you on the chat. And I don't normally read this guy's messages because sometimes guy or woman, whoever he is, because sometimes he's go overboard. Richard, you are incorrect. Jesus Christ is the savior of the world. His coming is imminent. Get ready, people.
Yeah, his coming imminent since the 13th century.
Good morning to you, caller.
Good morning, Sir Charles.
Good morning, Dabadi.
Good morning, Wendell, and good morning to Richard.
Morning, Miss Dabadi.
So I read into Facebook for a couple of days now with all these firings happening, all these negative things happening for a party that professes to be for everyone and they will take care of everyone. And I know Wendell, you can say it's politics, right? But the ordinary man on the street does not care about the infiltrated political parties. I am surprised to see that the majority, if I read 200 comments, 195 comments of UNC supporters, that is, right, are agreeing with what is taking place.
Some of them are, unfortunately.
But with all these firings which are so without empathy. So hear me now. So wait now. They're not living here. They're not feeling it. They don't know, their same family member could be involved and could be affected by this. Why they don't even have some empathy for the other, for people? And I saying, you see how this whole thing is be? Because you support a party and the other one doesn't support it, it's right.
Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago.
It's on both sides, but the thing is, it doesn't look good. And you know what I hate too? When they want to come and do damage control, like yesterday when Barry Potter pretended to do damage control and make it even worse, talking a pack of crap, it doesn't sound right. As I say again, I'm very objective. It ain't right. And as I said in Bonnet there are a lot of people there who work CPEP and they're literally feeling hurt. I noticed, a couple of days I passed and I be talking and things, and they're not feeling good inside at all. Not feeling good. So then tell me if that is right. And Mr. Elder, try again, You were a person for workers. There's no collateral damage for human beings. Nothing murders and nothing else. Please get it right.
Thank you very much.
I want to address, before you take the next call, Sir Charles.
Isn't that ironic? It's not ironic. Sorry, Wendell. You're starting to get a little blurry. Clean your camera. Yeah. Isn't that? Why. Yeah, no, clean your camera lens or something.
But I haven't touched anything. I haven't done anything except plug in my mouse.
Let me say it slowly so you can understand. Clean your camera lens.
I didn't do anything, Richard, to change what's going on.
Oh, God.
He said it needs cleaning.
I know what
he said. If didn't do anything,
I'm watching myself on TV too, and I am seeing it blurry, but I didn't touch anything.
Anyhow.
Please excuse us. But anyway, what is ironic about all of these mass firings that have taken place in the first month of the UNC's stewardship? And I thought they started off very, hopeful and stuff like that. But it seems as if they're on a Republican kind of trajectory. I'm sorry, that's how it comes across. But let's see. Maybe there's an explanation and they're going to explain it.
And they better do that quickest.
But yeah, I agree. But what is ironic about all of this is that one of your major coalition partners is the labor movement. And how does this sit with the labor movement? I find that that is another astonishing part of it all.
Yeah, and we have a minister of labor that comes from the belly of labor. Yeah, so
Yeah, because
just like we had Jennifer Baptiste Primus at the time. So
because a lot of these people are going to go to unions concerning how it was done, but of course, I mean, a lot of them were aligned to contractors, and it's the contractors who were terminated. So it's strange times in Trinidad and Tobago in terms of I can't remember the last time that so many citizens were on the breadline.
In 2015.
I'll have to fix that camera issue when we go on the
Good morning to you, Kola.
But okay.
Hold on there, Wendell. Good morning, Kola.
On the chat. After the call,
Good morning, gentlemen.
Kola, go ahead quickly.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen.
Yes,
When
Virginia.
the PNM or the UNC and the inner circles win, the rest of TAT don't win. And that's the same thing, Democrat or Republican out here. Okay? And Richard, stop with the narrative there about this is being a Republican or whatever.
You want to stop, sir.
Be real. Be real.
You can't tell me stop my opinion. That's my opinion.
What's that?
Yeah.
I said you can't tell me stop my opinion. That's my opinion.
Okay, I
have a differing opinion.
But you're
You have
carrying
a differing opinion, but don't tell me stop my opinion.
False. No, I again, I apologize. I shouldn't do that. That's quite true. Okay. But however, okay, it wasn't a change, it was an exchange. So you know what? And by the way, her behavior is that when she comes up, over here in neighboring Washington, right across from me here, okay, she's just doing stuff to make herself look as though, yeah, she is conservative. She's very, very far from conservative values, and you need to go into the details. You guys know why. But anyway, but again,
What
the
is he
narrative
talking about?
is so wrong. Anyway, take care.
Okay, no problem.
You confuse
Don't
everybody there with the last comments.
Don't even ask that question. Let's leave it right there.
Okay.
Right? Kola, good morning to you.
Hello.
Miss Sampson.
Yes.
Yes, Miss Sampson. You're
Go
on.
ahead, Miss Sampson. You're on here.
Good morning, gentlemen. It's
Yes.
19,000 people that is unemployed plus 2,341 some HDC something plus the governor. That's the total. And I would like to know why CPEP is protesting at the St. Madeleine office. They're protesting in the wrong place. On
Okay.
top of that, it's total fee.
Where they should go, Miss Sampson?
Huh?
Where should CPAP workers go?
Further down south. That is all I would say.
Oh.
Further down south. The
Okay,
office
Miss
have
Sam.
nothing to do with it. That St. Madeleine office have nothing to do with it.
But that's the head office of CPEP.
What you said?
I said that's where CPEP head office is.
I know, but the office did not send them home anyhow. Let me leave that there. But they need to go down south. On top of that, apparently this nonsense starts with toting feelings. It starts with the teacup issue. And then it starts with the Coco. Remember Coco singing about Mr. Pararat, and he is I think some manager in CPEP. So that is where the nonsense started. Mr. Young and the teacup business issue, and then Pararat with the Coco Calypso issue. So they are on a roll, but I am not feeling sorry for nobody. Sorry to say, Richard, they bought it cash. They didn't back Mr. Young. They could have given Mr. Young a break. Give Mr. Young a break, but no. Everybody looking for freebie.
Yeah.
And all what she promised.
The PNM is not going to escape unscathed in this, I'm sorry, People could disagree with me if they want. Because the PNM should have been in government still, fixing whatever they needed to fix, securing whatever they needed to secure. I'm sorry, I cannot agree. I will never agree with the calling of that early election. Never. I don't care what all they say. I will never agree with it.
call up very quickly as we get ready for the poll and the news that's going to run a little late.
Yeah, well, we had to do
You
the
always take calls. You always take calls right up to the hour, Richard. And we are
And who is Is take either Mr. Sampson or Zena?
Okay, no problem.
Or Mr. Patrick, who going and talk for 15 minutes.
All right,
Oh,
okay. All right, okay, no problem. Go ahead, let's get the poll. See, only in the mood, this is the mood, only in here. Okay.
Well, then you saw what I put in the chat, right?
You're going with all the business on air now.
No, I mean, considering the poll, you gave a poll.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, good. We'll do that.
Yeah.
We can do that. Right? So we pull in a story that, of course, broke yesterday and the day before when we interviewed the Commissioner of Police. Do you agree with the removal of the security detail from Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young, of course, as former prime ministers? Do you agree with the immediate removal of the security detail from them? Right? That's our poll. You could vote whilst we go on the news break. And when we come back, we'll do a little bit of that. And then we have a guest, Derek Ramsamooj.
Political analyst. You'll be speaking with Mr. Ramsamooj about all of these issues and all of the political things. And there are a lot of political things going on.
And I specifically want to address a comment from Scorpion Pepper at 6:51. I will respond to that in the next hour also. All right?
All right, so you're seeing the morning poll. Do you agree with the removal of the security detail from Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young as former prime ministers? That's our poll this morning. You can start voting. You can vote in the stream by the comment sections on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, you can also WhatsApp your vote to 2811315, 2811315. All right, on 7 a.m. news is next.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is considering designating certain local gangs as terrorist entities to strengthen its response to gang violence. This was confirmed by Minister of Homeland Security Roger Alexander yesterday. The move follows a High Court ruling on Tuesday, which officially designated the Venezuelan criminal group Tren de Aragua as a terrorist organization based on Section 22B of the Anti-Terrorism Act and UN Security Council Resolution 1373. This designation prohibits any dealings with the group and mandates the freezing of its assets. Providing any support or assistance to Tren de Aragua is now a criminal offense under local anti-terrorism laws. Minister Alexander said the government is assessing how to apply similar legal measures against local gangs, citing increasing gang warfare and intelligence indicating potential escalations in criminal activity. The removal of personal security details from former Prime Ministers Dr. Keith Rowley and Stuart Young was based on a threat assessment conducted by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, not linked to recent pension legislation. This was confirmed by Minister of Homeland Security Roger Alexander in an interview yesterday. He clarified that although Young's security detail was withdrawn a day after the government passed a bill revoking the pension of former prime ministers, the two events were unrelated. Alexander explained that the TTPS determined there were no longer credible threats to either individual, making the personal security detail unnecessary. He acknowledged the timing might raise questions, but emphasized the decision was purely based on police intelligence and procedures, not political motivations. 13 former employees of the Tobago House of Assembly will receive a total of $4.3 million in compensation following an industrial court ruling in a dispute brought by the Advocate Trade Union. The court found that the workers, whose contracts were terminated after a change in administration in 2022, are entitled to payment for unused vacation leave, remaining contract periods, and prorated gratuity. The final payouts, issued on June 30th, range from around $151,000 to $400,000, with the highest going to Kosi King Morris. Despite the THA filing a notice of appeal, The court issued the final order requiring all amounts to be paid by September 30th, 2025. A Freeport widow has been awarded $500,000 in damages after the High Court ruled her constitutional rights were violated in a dangerous driving case that led to her husband's death in 2011. Justice Kevin Ramcharan found the state failed Maureen Dilchan Maharaj by mishandling the prosecution of the driver charged with her husband's death. That driver, Ronald Farfan, was eventually freed in 2017 after the case was dismissed due to lack of prosecution. The ruling revealed repeated police failures, including non-attendance by the investigating officer and failure to serve witness summonses. Maharaj was awarded $350,000 in compensation and $150,000 in vindicatory damages, plus interest and legal costs. The Southwest Regional Health Authority and San Fernando General Hospital are facing legal action after the death of a premature baby born alive at 24 weeks. In a pre-action letter, Attorney Ted Roop-Nareen accuses the hospital of negligence and misclassifying the birth as a miscarriage despite the baby being born, breathing and moving. The mother reportedly gave birth in a hospital ward with no staff present, and the baby was denied immediate care, only reaching NICU 2 hours later. The baby died 2 weeks after birth. The family is demanding a public apology, compensation, and a full review of hospital protocols. You are listening to news on New Era TT Radio. In international news, in a stunning courtroom development, 30-year-old Brian Kohberger has pleaded guilty to the 2022 murders of 4 college students in Moscow, Idaho, avoiding the death penalty through a plea deal. Kohberger, a former criminology PhD student, admitted to killing Kaylee Goncalves, Ethan Chapin, Zana Kernodle, and Madison Mogan in their off-campus home. During the hearing, Judge Stephen Hippler confirmed Kohberger waived his right to appeal or seek leniency. The deal has divided victims' families, with Kaylee Goncalves' father calling it a deal with the devil, while Madison Mogan's family said it brought closure. Kohberger's sentencing is set for July 23rd, with a life sentence expected. He was arrested weeks after the killings, with DNA from a knife sheath linking him to the crime. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio. Net Radio. Net Radio.
Your mid-morning just got better. Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle, where good music, real talk, health, and family matters come together, and your voice is heard. Whether you're at work, on the go, or just taking a break, this is the perfect mix to keep you engaged, informed, and entertained. The mid-morning mix and mingle, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Join me, Brother David Muhammad, every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio, Powerful Radio. Join me to hear knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Tuesdays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Mornings just got better. You're locked into Net Radio Breakfast Show, fueling your day with the best music and real talk.
Tonight we going and have some fun. I just feel Tonight the black man feeling the party. Tonight the black man feeling the jam, 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 jam. Tonight the black man just feels the boogie, woogie. Come on, hold on to your man. And let me do, and let me do, and let me do a little oi.
Mornings just got better. You're locked into Net Radio Breakfast Show, fueling your day with the best music and real talk.
Well, it's good to have you here on New Era TT Radio, Heartbeat of the Caribbean, taking you above and beyond. Welcome inside the second hour of the Breakfast Show. And remember, people, look out for the Drive Time Exchange, and that comes up at 4 o'clock this afternoon, Monday to Thursday, from 4 to 6 p.m. with journalist Tony Fraser. And of course, that is your next YouTube engagement right this afternoon between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m. right here on New Era TT Radio, neweraTTradio.com. As we jump back inside of the Breakfast Show.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
This summer, give your child skills of a lifetime with several boot camp. Children between the ages of 5 to 17, come enjoy Children Iron Chef Competition. Your child will learn to prepare healthy breakfast, lunch, dinner, CPR, first aid, and conflict management. With field trip, your child will be given free apron and certification upon completion. Call 492-7397 or 336-4935. Institute of Health and Fitness Company Limited, located at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna.
The only question I have for you is how you find your play going so far?
I was gobsmacked, to say the least. Very glad that I came to see it and can't wait for the next stop.
Very nice, lovely, yes. I could do it again.
I think the parade is fantastic, and I actually told my husband tonight that I think this is one of the most hilarious and phenomenal ones yet.
Love that.
So I was dying of laughter, and the plot is creative and fun, so I just think it's awesome.
I find it is it has a twist, and it raises a game changer, right?
Right.
It's a game changer,
like
so it's a plus.
How was the show tonight?
Oh, it was fantastic. We got fabulous actors.
Yes, we do.
It was a fabulous night. My husband laughed very loud. It was exciting.
It was excellent. I must say it was a refreshing look at real life aspect of a marriage. I find it was excellently portrayed, I must say.
It was really exciting. I laughed a lot. And the story was really, really good. The principles, that they talk about and share with us, it was really good to see they put that in humor, with humor.
Have you heard? The hilarious adult comedy Married and Mischievous is coming to an end. Where are the last shows? I'll tell you. Port of Spain. Final 2 shows at Queen's Hall on Friday, July 4th and Saturday, July 5th at 8:30 p.m. And our absolutely last show is on Sunday, July 6th in Sapa, San Fernando. Tickets available in all usual outlets in North and South. Don't miss the comedy that everybody is raving about. Check RSR Productions Theatre on social media. And remember, strictly adults only. It's a bacchanal. So yes, we are back for the second hour of the breakfast show, and of course we'll have our best guest on shortly. We are speaking to political analyst Derek Ramsamooj, who'll be joining us in a couple minutes, and to talk about all of them. There's so many issues to talk about in Trinidad and Tobago politics, and of course we just going to go through quickly. The votes from our morning poll, and our morning poll was and is: do you agree with the removal of the security detail for Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young as former prime ministers? That's our poll this morning. What are the results, Wendell?
Yeah, first my apologies. I did not get my camera situation sorted out, so You will have to deal with that background just for this morning. I'll get it fixed after the show. I tried very much during the news break and didn't get through. All right, but the chat hot today, boy. Whoa, look at comments.
Get to the poll.
Let's start with the poll. Lester Cradwell says yes. Magic, no. Ilarizan, no. Maureen Dilchan Maharaj, no. Miss Maharaj, we will deal with your story tomorrow, right? Of course, you will have heard it in the news, right? Boy Bidesi, yes. Michael Oliver, yes. Trini Gets Fit, no. Cheryl Henry, no. Terrence Roach, no. Scorpion Pepper, a quick answer to that is no also, but that's not a poll, right? Cheryl M says no to the poll. Wendy and James, no. Susan Jessup, no. Diane Payne, no. DL says no. Rena Jennings says no. Joyce Phillip, no. Marlon Motley, no. Lennox Francois, no. This is the law. That's a new name, no. Ava Smith, no. Kazim Mohammed, no. Margaret Thomas, no. Chevon Choga, no. CJ from New York, no. Where are we again? Carol Guevara, no. Michael Robinson, no. Scorpion, okay. Scorpion Pepper said she has to come to well, he or she has to come to Rumbox one of these days. You're most welcome. Erica Charles, Cheryl Henry, okay. Michael Robinson voted like, where are we? Far Rockaway says he is abstaining. Alistair Hart says no. Well, Slick Money Grip, no. Melchizedek, no. And Cynthia McIntosh. And that's not a vote. Classic Brother, and that's new name, no. All right, so those are the votes we have. I don't know if Sir Charles has any.
Yeah, we have a couple of them here on the WhatsApp. Afia Lashley says no. Miss Sampson says no. Captain Ron says no. Mr. Billy says no. Joseph Clement says no. Terry Ann Peters says yes. Cephas Charles says no. Black Pearl says no. And Archbishop Ashton Clark says no. Pauline says yes. Sean Ram says no. And Annan says yes. And that's it.
All right. I have two more votes for you, Richard, and we'll end there. James Kamau, no. And Bernadette Yates, no. All right?
Polls are now
Apparently,
closed.
there's a time span to the former prime ministers are given us security. Somebody put that in the chat. Up to 3 months after they've exited office. I'm not sure if that is true. I'm not sure if that works, especially in light of all the threats, the kind of society we live in now. Those are certain realities that you have to face.
Anyway, our poll this morning, as you saw, was do you agree with the withdrawal of the security detail from Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young? We had 45 people voting on the poll this morning. Of the 45 people, 39 of you said no, and 6 of you said yes. So the nays were by far in the majority. So the vast majority of our listeners and viewers from this microcosmic pool of sentiment was no. They did not agree with the removal of the security detail for Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young. So that's it. 39 no, 6 yes, 45 people voting in the allotted time. That's it for our poll this morning. Our poll is now at an end.
Count and crumple.
Yeah. So, of course, now we'll move into our Let's Talk segment. And, of course, we'll be speaking to Derek Ramsamooj, political analyst, a political analyst who will be in on a lot of the issues that we've been talking about. Good morning, Mr. Ramsamooj, and thanks so much for speaking with us this morning.
Hi, good morning, Wendell, and good morning to all your viewers and listeners. Thank you for having the program.
Morning, Mr. Ramsamooj. Thanks for joining. Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles.
Please call me Derek. I've been around long enough, and I know you different.
All right. We will defer to our guests of requests, of course. Morning, Derek.
Yeah.
Morning.
So, of course, we were discussing this morning the issue of the firings, and I found it amazing. I don't know what your take is as a political analyst. My opinion was I found it amazing that within the first month of your governance, that your first acts would be to put approximately 15,000 plus people on the breadline via severing of so many contracts in the forestry division, in CPEP, and of course there were other contracts in HDC, etc., etc. I think the correct count is closer to 19,000 jobs in terms of people on the breadline. I just find that an amazing feat, and not necessarily a good feat for a government within its first month in office, and a government that has coalesced with Labour. I find it pretty ironic. I don't know, what's your take, Mr. Ramsamooj, on what's taking place?
First of all, thank you again for the invitation, and I hope my comments don't put you into severe trouble. The reality is, if you have to make drastic changes in any new administration, you must make it strategically within the first 12 months of your administration, thereby giving you sufficient time to recover whatever political value or political goodwill you may have had. The reality of our economy is we have governance challenges as to how politicians use the state, how the people who are in charge of government use the resources of the state. For quite a while, there have been complaints where people wanted to have a change of leader of the country, a change of prime minister, wanted to have changes with how we structure the country's economy based on job creation, based on inflation, based on the access to foreign currency, based on crime in the society, based on the collapse of the infrastructure. So any new administration, and let's be clear, let's analyze the politics. We don't want an exchange within the governance structure between the PNM party and the non-PNM parties who are in government. So I would suspect in the coming weeks and months, before we get to the next budget, we would probably see an acceleration of the restructuring of the state. So if you look at how the welfare type employment is, if you look at contract workers within the employment of government, if you look at how the functioning or whether there's any duplication between, let us say, the Ministry of Public Works and that of UDICOT or RUDICOT, right? So the whole state, remember, prior to Patrick Manning's administration, we did not have all these special purpose companies that were used to implement government policy. So we are going to witness a restructuring of the state. We are going to witness a removal of subsidies. We are going to witness perhaps where the reality is the $60 billion you wish to spend every year may not be possible when you're making $40 billion a year on the oil and gas. We have to recognize that our energy economy will go through a transformation as well. So this is not surprising. It's expected. And for those who want to reflect on what the NAR did in 1986 under A&R Robinson, then was a complete restructuring of the economy. And that is what is going to happen in the coming months and years.
You know, you gave a very economical kind of theoretical analysis of the situation and what you think is going to happen. My take is that this government seems to be patterning itself after the Republican Party and what has taken place in the United States. And hear me why. First of all, you had the issue of Doge cuts in the United States, which seems to be replicating here.
Yes.
The Prime Minister has made she hasn't minced words that she's very pro-Trump, and she was very critical of Joe Biden when he left his office. It has been a strategy of the Trump presidency to remove the security detail of the past president, which has now mirrored itself in the removal of the security detail of from Prime Minister Rowley, former Prime Minister Rowley, and Stuart Young. So it seems to be a mirroring thing. I don't know if we're now going to see mass deportations of Venezuelans, which would be the next move if you are mirroring what is taking place in the Republican Party in the United States, which is, of course, wielding a lot of havoc and a lot of resentment internally in the United States, as you have all of these conflicting positions and the lack of empathy that they see taking place in the United States, so much so that the rest of the world, there's a drastic decrease in tourism into the United States because of all of their policies. And which they're entitled to go, that's who they voted for. But of course, there are many Americans who oppose what is happening. Similarly, in a Trinidad and Tobago situation, 53% of the population voted in the poll, 47% did not. And of the 53%, whatever percentile the UNC got, that swept them into government. Are you seeing a mirroring of those policies that are taking place in the United States being effected here, or you're not seeing that?
I think the issue is much more severe than that. We have what you may call copycat politics. We don't have a level of political intellectualism or understanding our social reality when we are creating policies. We have to change our governance structure, and we need to understand the role of the state, how the state employs people, how the state utilizes our resources. But let's be clear, we have a minority government when it comes to the political will of the country. So therefore, governance is a major issue of how you structure your politics, your decision making, and how you use the resources of the country. So we copy politics. We copied politics, for example, the public housing, the HDC housing, is a copycat politics of the politics of 1950 and 1960 from the UK Society of Council Flats. So we don't have any serious political thought or thinking. I give you two examples. If you look at our constitution, our politicians are afraid to change the service commissions. So we still have challenges with how you appoint a police commissioner, how you deal with the teaching service, how you deal with perhaps the judicial service in the form of how justice is dispensated and the time frame of dealing with white-collar criminality. So what we have is a maintenance of the political ethos in our society, where the state must pay for healthcare, must pay for teaching or education, as the case may be. Now, I am not saying we should not have a welfare element in our society, where people who are in need are given the kind of assistance needed. But the state cannot be carrying your baby's milk to your coffin during the period of the time. You've got to get wealth. And this notion of the energy belonging to the people of Trinidad is a load of political hogwash. The energy is a resource that the state must use to help diversify the economy. The word diversification is a bastardization of economic thinking. We've had that before independence. So all I am suggesting is we did not vote. The population have to understand. Did you vote for an exchange where bluntly you only have a change of the management from one ethnic group to another ethnic group? Or did you vote for a change of how you deal with crime, how you deal with the resources, how you deal with welfare? Their trade unions in this country is perhaps one of the most unproductive institutions in this country. And the actions of the trade unions, while I agree, you must look after the welfare of the workers, have anyone measured the productivity level of the trade unions? In fact, let's just say the energy sector. Let's just say what is going to happen with Petrotrin. We have to come to terms. We used to produce sugar, right? We lost that. We had a railroad. We lost that. And the question now is we had petrol sector. We are losing that. And it is when do we lose the energy sector? And what are you doing to diversify the economy? I understand the descriptive analysis of basically people are saying, well, the PNM did this and the UNC this, and we have a politics of victimization. But let's be honest, the politics of victimization is not based on ethnicity. It's based on patronage. It's based on who financed the campaign and what sectors of the economy they wish private sector in to get a profit.
Mr. Ramsamooj, you know, Derek.
Yes.
I'm hearing you, and maybe you're right, but how do you juxtapose that against the fact that you got a mandate, a resounding mandate to govern for all? You campaigned on when UNC wins, everybody wins. You promised jobs. You promised all manner of things, and then and based on what you said earlier on in terms of restructuring the economy and how we do business here, how does that compare to when you go in? The first thing you do is expand your cabinet, make everybody a minister in the ministry, increase members on state boards. How do you, because that is an expense too, not so? So how do you say that you want to save, you want to save expenditure here, but you've already started by increasing it?
For a country that has invested in education for the last 50, 60 years, our intelligence is basically substandard when it comes to politics. Do you actually believe that we follow nursery rhyme politics? Right? We are so based in nursery rhyme slogans as opposed to understanding the content. For many years, including the election period, there has never been a proper discussion by the media as to what kinds of policies they will deal with when it comes to a social agenda, when it comes to CPEP, when it comes to URP, when it comes to the economy, when it comes to basically that of taxation. Because there are elements in the media, I'm not saying you guys, there are elements in the media who are more concerned about their economic survival based on the campaign finance of advertising during the campaign, as opposed to being responsible to have serious political debate. I hear what you say. I hear what you say, but really, are we that unintelligent of people to be voted by the color, where yellow is the code or red and ready? Is that the level of our intellect? And the reality is the institutions have been bought by political victimization by practitioners in politics. I find it astounding, really astounding, that the role of independence in this country is diminishing on a daily basis because we are cowards by nature, a lot of hot air. But when it comes to your money in your pocket, you're not jeopardizing that for your principles. Your principles go through the roof because money is more important. So that's the nature and the psychology of our voters.
Well, they say all politics is local in the sense of in people and how they are going to be economically affected by decisions. Kind of dictates how they vote, and so I suppose some of that roughly 19,000 people who have lost their jobs, and some of them who would have been supporters of the current administration would now be a little sour about it because it's affected their pockets directly. And that's how human beings operate a lot of times. How is this affecting my life? How is my life improving or not? Rather than, hence, I think the apathy of voters, why 47% of the electorate did not vote, because they were apathetic that neither party really seeks the interests of the country, or they were disinterested in the political process because of the history that we have with politics. But I wanted to get to the issue of, because you mentioned independent, are people really independent? And I wanted to get your take on the Prime Minister pensions bill, with where the independent senators, of course, gave the green light to the UNC government in terms of passing that bill by the 3/5 majority that was required. Do you think that bill, in terms of the retroactive effect with regard to Stuart Young, was justified?
I think that's part of the problem. I think if the government basically utilizes the existing Westminster parliamentary power to retroactively create a situation where benefit that was law was revoked, then also they should do the following. One, term limits, no more than 2 terms for any prime minister in this country. Not consecutive, any prime minister in this country. Secondly, the whole notion of referendums being used as part of the decision-making process. Thirdly, that of fixed date elections, as well as the right to recall. So if we want to change governance, the issue is not only about that particular prime minister's salary. The question should be, we should have a value for money audit on people who benefit from monies from the political system. So if you look at the chairmans, how chairmans are selected, why is there no parliamentary oversight into approval for chairmans above and beyond a prime ministerial appointment, especially for the A-class boards? If you look at the value, is the Senate of any value? Do we need to restructure not only the campaign finance legislation, but also how long people serve and what is the process of scrutiny? How could you have people controlling the energy sector or the financial sector who have never run basically anything in the energy sector or anything from business? Now, don't get me wrong. People will say the PNM did that, but that does not mean because it was done by one administration, does it make it right in going forward? And we must recognize, you see, Trinidadians believe they're entitled. This is the same person who will go to the United States and go to UK and Canada and work 3 jobs. Work 3 jobs to pay their rent or to buy their food. So this entitlement culture, if you want to balance this economy, if you want to basically ensure you have money to pay pensioners, you've got to raise the pensionable age. You work until 70 or 75, as the case may be. So the ethos of freeness, of abdicating responsibility after you vote, it means your politics have to change. And if we copycatting what we see in the United States or the UK and these things, and part of it has to be, have the university failed miserably? Have the education system failed miserably, where you believe the state must give you the luxuries of life, not the basics of life, the luxuries of life? When you have intergenerational employees through programs like CPEP, and the original idea was to go into the environment, and successive governments have failed to create environmental jobs, not cutting grass, right? If we are serious as a country, if we don't want to be approaching shades of Haiti, when food prices go through, when criminality, when crimes run the society, and that's what happens. And when I say crime, I am not talking about the guy who's selling two pieces of weed, right? I'm talking about the guys who are bringing in the guns. I'm talking about the white-collar criminality. I'm talking about the drug money that is entering the system. I am talking about the banking system that is raping the population, right? And we need to have a rethink. Now, copying what exists or practicing what I want to call the politics of vindictiveness, or as the man on the street will say, politics of bad mind, right? That's not our solution. We are going to have the same problem as we present the next budget, or as we enter Carnival. A simple thing like Carnival. How is the country benefiting? And don't tell me about small money. Because if you calculate the amount of money the ban owners make, if you calculate the amount of foreign exchange used to create the costumes. If you calculate, do we have any decent recording studio that has marketed our music like how Jamaica's market their music globally, right? If we're talking about big business at whose expense? If you want it to be big business, get no state subsidies. None for chutney, none for ramen roti politics, right? None for chicken and Guinness politics. We are afraid to be politically incorrect, but we want the benefit of a state keeping us in a life of luxury.
I hear you, and I hear you. It seems as if you are talking about a drastic reset of how we look at the Trinidad and Tobago economic and social landscape, and that reset will obviously have some collateral damage in the short term.
No, but how is it collateral damage?
Well, people will lose jobs. That's what I mean, and losing jobs is damage.
That's not collateral damage. In any society that moves forward, there are consequences. It's not collateral damage, because are you saying, just like how Caroni had problems, right? Just like how our rum industry had problems, if we have to move forward in any kind of economic thinking or any kind of social thinking, you know how AI has entered the market, right? And how you guys are running a studio, shaping public opinion, right? But not having the full human resource capacity because you're using AI. In any country, in any society, there's a time when technology, for example, when the printing press was created, when technology changes how a society structures itself. The population has two choices. You either sit and cry and moan, or you get up and take advantage of the situation. There are a number of media houses that will fail in the coming months. The interrelationship between the banking owners and the insurance owners, the cartel within the financial world, the cartel within the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry, all of those are the things that need to be addressed if you're restructuring this society. I'm not talking about, aren't you tired as a people not getting proper medical care? Aren't you tired as a people not being able to buy nutritious food? Nutritious food, not the fast food chicken and chips. How many of us are lazy where you refuse to fry your own chicken and cut your own potato up, right? Or make your own bread, right? Long ago, everybody used to make their own bread on a Saturday or a Sunday, right? I am not saying there's not a room for privatization. There is. But what I'm saying is we have gone so along a pendulum that we are slaves to the marketplace as opposed to being independent.
Well, I suppose it's a balancing act in terms of how the country balances each sector, because the private sector has a role to play, obviously, and of course the welfare state also has a role to play, and of course the citizens and the productive citizens have a huge role to play in terms of how the country moves forward. But that issue of diversification that you've mentioned several times in this conversation has been something that we have heard since we were in primary school. And since we were in primary school, you're hearing about diversification. We are what, several years late, decades later, and you still hear that as a mantra. Does that frustrate you as a political analyst, how slow the change is, or how non-existent the change is in Trinidad and Tobago? Because you're right, sometimes it's like exchange, and they will clothe it differently, they will call it something else, but it's the same thing. And it just continues, and we go merrily along the way.
If you may permit me, I have to draw credit to a gentleman called Tony Fraser. Tony Fraser, in May 1995, invited me to do a program when there was a by-election in Pointe-a-Pierre, when Cyril Rajaram passed away. And it is Tony Fraser who attached this title called Political Analyst to my good self. The conversations that I've had from 1995 to 2025 are basically a recurring decimal. So much so when I was invited to this program, I hesitated because I felt that I was spinning top in mud. We have had hopefully a much more enlightened population. Hopefully the old men who are in the 50s and 60s will go away, and that the young voters who are 16 who will become voters in 2 years' time may have a different view of the world. If you look at it, it would be nice if campaigns are based on issues and if politicians or people who are politicians are held accountable, not during the election come around 5 years later, but every step of the way. Example, this notion of closing schools because the head of a state of a country is coming to see you, and the silence, right, of the trade unions, of the education, of tutor, right, of the principals, of children who are writing education. Do you think for a second, if Kamala Prasad Bisesa went to India, Modi would close the schools in India? Do we really believe that nonsense? And that's
I think Tutor did say something, and Tutor did raise an objection, I believe.
Yeah, but there's a difference between raising an objection and old talk and actual action. Are the teachers going to the school? Right? Because we're full of hot air. Right? And this is what I'm talking about. So if you're talking about change, I'm sorry, the bamboo and jandi politics, right? And that is the real issue, the jandi and bamboo politics and the trade union oligarchy, because there is a parasitical oligarchy within the trade union leadership who are more concerned of the freeness that they receive personally as opposed to the well-being of their people.
No argument.
And the trade union is a diminishing political pool of people. So the society is changing, the economy is changing, the psychology of the politics is changing. I want to add something. Keith Rowley ran an experiment to perhaps at times trying to change the thinking of the perception of the PNM, of not being African dominated. And let me be clear. You see this African-Indian nonsense? It's pure nonsense, right? That's a continent. We're mixing it up with the ethnicity, right? And he attempted to bring in a new type of leadership. And that was rejected by the stakeholders in the PNM versus the financiers of the PNM, right? And this thing about having a sprinkling of a different ethnic person, right, in your party says you're not ethnic. No. Look, the argument being put forward is that Barry Padalat is basically seeing or perceiving himself of being a leader in waiting. Put it 2 years down the line, when the incumbent president, terms come to an end. Who is going to be the president? Who is going to be the prime minister? In an old system that only breeds a deep racial hatred and racial thinking. This nonsense they're going to tell me about carnival, right? Who are the beneficiaries of the carnival? Who own the trucks? Who designed the costumes? Who save up money or take a bank loan to go to an all-inclusive fete? Even within carnival, there's a difference between, forgive me, a Wassa fete and an all-inclusive fete. The elitism that exists. And that's what we're afraid of. And I'm not frustrated. I'm simply saying, we're passing through here. Let's make our country better for us.
Are you willing to take some calls, Mr. Ramsamooj, from our listeners and viewers? I think they would want to be interactive with you.
Well, they've been very interactive on the chat.
I'm sure I'm getting criticized every which way.
Well, some people agreeing, some people disagreeing. You know, it depends on the point you're making. Because we still haven't gotten past the point of the fact that the poor, the people at the lowest rung of the ladder are suffering, and the people at the highest rung of the ladder, they were increased.
we still haven't gotten past that point.
Because we are oligarchical in nature.
Mm-hmm.
We climb to the top. Our education system is structured not with a sense of equity, but a sense of profitability. Right? And that's just the nature of the beast.
You also, just before the first call, you also referenced the term of the NAR government. That didn't end very nicely for the country, Mr. Ramsamooj.
Yes, it shows, therefore, that you cannot bring drastic change to a society that refuses it, right? Politicians have to understand the pace that they will want to implement versus the pace that the society will accept, right? So our people say they want change, but the truth is they want more money in the pocket, but they don't want anybody to make them more responsible, right? So societies operate incrementally. There's a small spectrum that basically want quick and fast change to get quick and fast money. And that's understanding the culture of our people, the political culture, the political socialization of our people. And I agree.
So we're taking your calls, 281-1315, 281-1315. You can WhatsApp call or direct call. We're speaking to Derek Ramsamooj, political analyst. Interesting conversation this morning. And of course, as you can see, Mr. Ramsamooj is not short of how he sees, not short of an opinion and opinions of how he sees the country and the country's future, and what he thinks in terms of analyzing where the country is at. What's your opinion? What's your take? Join the conversation.
Yeah, well, we have a caller there. Caller, morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Mr. Ramsamooj, I'm happy that you have maintained your status as the only true independent analyst in the country. I make no bones about that, right? I congratulate you, sir, on maintaining that. Now, as you talk about different styles and governance and so on, right? This period now remind me of 87 to 91 in terms of the mandate achieved by the UNC. Even though it is a minority mandate, which people are loath to admit, right? Look at this, right? When the NAR ousted the PNM in 1986, it was about morality in public affairs and getting away with corruption. So they passed the Prevention of Corruption Act, and you had the integrity the Integrity Commission legislation. But however, in a government with such a large majority, they passed these legislation with no teeth. They watered them down. You fast forward now, you have a government who is talking about improving the lives of people and saying that they would govern with equity and equitably and castigate the efforts of the government in the last 10 years. Only for me last night to be watching a news item where the Minister of Finance, who chastised the PNM administration, says that the diversification efforts that the country made in the last 10 years, the UNC is going to improve on it. But when you come back here and you go to the parliament, you will castigate the same administration. So as you said, what remind me of? The writings of the novel Mimic Men. Because that is all we have had for the last 30 years. And I agree with you. But it would mean that any government who wants to seriously change the constitution has to cut its own truth. And I'm saying that the only party that has demonstrated a willingness to do that is the PNM administration. No other of its opponents are willing to do that, to bite the bullet and radically reform the constitution. I just want to get your take on that, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thanks very much, caller.
If I may, caller, the present PNM needs to go through an evolutionary process where it can win public trust. We could argue, why was Stuart Young rejected inside of the PNM? Why did the PNM vote drop by 100,000? Was it because how the transition of leadership was managed? What was the internal political dynamic? So if you wish to start with changing the governance structure of the country, you first have to start changing the governance structure in your party, because this is one of the plagues that our society has faced. The dominant culture from 1956 to 2025 of how the state has been utilized has not changed. Even within when Kamla Prasad's administration, her first administration, saw an extension of the same style of governance in the country. Nothing was done with respect to, for example, the CPEP, or example with the service commissions, or example with private sector. I'll give you a further example. Healthcare is a major issue, but why do we have doctors who are employed by the public sector to look after our health, telling their prospective patients, come to my private clinic? Why do we have lawyers who are receiving so much money agree that our legal system is too slow, but get a financial benefit every time a case is postponed? So if you look at the dispensation of justice and you look at how people's health care and wellness are taken care of, we have a challenge. And that's your basic. We're not even beginning to talk about housing and the Housing Development Corporation. So your basic standard of living, health, education, food, nutrition, right? House over your head. The freeness has got to be curbed, but you need to get, how do you make people wealthy so that they can own their own house? We don't have wealth creation policies for the population. We have wealth creation for a small minority, the oligarchy. However, we must have intergenerational wealth, not moving from average car to a BMW or an Audi. That is your capacity to save, not your capacity to consume without saving. And that requires, we all talk about perhaps down in Singapore. The question is, what kind of leaders do we need? We've had a rejection of an authoritarian type leader, people perceive. And that's the challenge. How does your leadership match your needs of your people?
Are you optimistic that the current administration is going to use the template you think that the country needs to be on to move forward?
Sorry, in moving forward?
Yeah, are you optimistic that the current administration is going to follow the pathway that you think we need to follow to get to where you think the country needs to get to, in terms of what your opinion is and what you've been articulating this morning?
Yeah, let me add to that, Derek. Because of what you just said in terms of the country rejecting who they thought was an authoritarian leader, how do we fix it going forward then?
First of all, let me answer the second question. You can only bring about change when there's unparalleled level of suffering in the society, right? People people say they want change, but to accept it and implement it, it's only when they are at risk of losing their sense of financial and economic and psychological stability. So the first thing is you must have a critical turning point in which the society is willing to move forward. We've seen that, for example, with the Black Power movement at one point. I'm not suggesting violence. I'm just trying to understand what will motivate people to change. Coming to the first question, your change of governance is a function of how you're willing to balance your political investors' needs. Because let's be clear, part of this political change is transactional politics. Transactional politics was where money is used to purchase political behavior. So how do you balance your investors in certain key seats and the quantum of money that was spent to win the undecided or the swing voter? And how do you deal with the needs of the society? So public procurement legislation. It will be very good if anyone who is in the process of bidding for any project that requires public funds, where Jim Smith and Mary Jane can go online and you have an online, open, transparent public procurement process. So I can see who my competitor is, what skill sets he has that I don't have, and how best we could improve that kind of service, public service. So if they are serious in moving forward, let's look at contractors. Let's look at the construction sector, right? We also have to look at anti-monopolistic tendencies. So you don't have one company or two companies or a construction cartel through different administrations keeping the big projects and not allowing smaller people to grow.
All right, Mr. Ramsamooj, just hold it right there for one moment. Caller, good morning.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge the Dr. Derek Ramsamooj as political analyst. And I also want to just fade into the thing. I am saying I don't agree with how this was done in terms of the 10,000 and the 4,000 fish. I don't like how it was done, the poor man feeling the worst end of it, right? What I'm saying is a cancer. We are dealing with a cancer. Corruption. This is all about corruption. Because Bernie is telling me this morning that some of the contractors are even contracting CPEP and also in the forestry. There is mass corruption. So this problem, and a former Prime Minister said it, a former late Prime Minister yesterday that we celebrated his death, right? Patrick Manning, he said it. Corruption is what is causing all of this. And this government has to fix it. We cannot continue like this as a society. Corruption is killing us. We are drowning in corruption. And this government will get a little fallout from this. But we have to deal with it. We must deal with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Corruption is an easy word to bandy about, and people bandied it about during the People's Partnership, and they bandy it about now with the PNM and those contracts. And I think corruption, first people have to first define what is corruption, and let us agree on what is corruption, and is patronage and people bidding for it corrupt, or is it just that these citizens feel that they can apply more comfortably than under another administration? I don't know. But
Richard, let me add to that now.
Audit to decide whether something is corrupt.
Yeah, let me add to that.
When you're auditing, you can be more human in how you audit before you terminate.
Yeah. How is it corruption if you own a legitimate company, registered company, and you get a contract with more than one entity? How is that? Because I don't know that road pavers are restricted from applying to the local government and to the central government. I hear you, but I take what Derek said, that if the entire process is completely transparent and you can see the process taking place before your very eyes online, it reduces the element of patronage, and it shows that who gets it and on what merit they got it. But I was responding to Derek.
Corruption becomes much less.
I was responding to the caller just now who said that how you could get a contract with CPEP and also get a contract with the forestry. That can't be corruption if you have a legitimate company. I wasn't responding to Derek.
If I may add, we talk about a world of digitalization. We've spent so much rhetoric about digitalization and AI. Okay, if you look at the public procurement, is the public procurement process that has already been set up, is it free from corruption? Is it free from manipulation? Now, let's be clear. Thieving is one thing in a colloquial way. You're thieving money for not providing a service, right? But the question is maneuvering or manipulating the process. Right? That's the issue. So, for example, we have the public procurement. We need a deep dive in terms of the public procurement legislation and how certain companies could change what they can bid for, right? Depending on how they know the system operates. Now, there is nothing to say you should be restricted. What I'm simply saying is it should be open where the public is aware, right, that Jim Smith has 6 companies and bids for all these projects at this particular point in time doing ABC. and who are his competitors, and what is the consideration? Why were you given a contract over another? And if CPEP was designed to build entrepreneurs, how do you take that information to develop entrepreneurs to be wealth creators? And how do you move from, you see, the state has no business in certain sectors, right? So for example, the construction sector. For example, how many foreign entities like Chinese money or different kinds of money coming in, bringing their own labor to build hospitals, right? So it is how you govern the society to build the resources that the state needs to a better quality of life. And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Mr. Ramsamooj, this is where you're going to have to end it. But I still wanted to get your answer. Are you optimistic that the current administration is going to do what is necessary, Jerry, in your opinion, in transforming the society?
If the present government continues the pathway that it is presently pursuing, it will not be able to deliver more than 50% of what the expectations are in the population. You first have to deal with the notion of your banking system. You first have to deal with what legislation you're going to be putting forward to transform the society. You have got to have a sense of fairness, And the optics, the political optics suggest only greater offense will be created as opposed to building consensus to move the country forward.
That will be our ending words with us, and we thank you so much, Mr. Ramsamooj, for speaking with us. Your insight and conversation was very helpful this morning. I think it garnered a lot of interest in terms of the comment section on the various platforms. So thank you so much for giving us your sense of where you see the country is going. I hope you will join us later on as more and more stuff happens. We'd like to get your opinions on scene when it does occur.
After 30 years of a talking head, we now need to do things.
Yeah.
All right, Derek, take care.
Okay,
have a good day.
Have a good day. Cheers.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
All right. Of course, that was Derek Ramsamooj, political analyst, weighing in. We are very late again for the news. I'm fed up of Richard and Sir Charles now. So what to do, people?
Yeah. And can I tell you to be quiet and let the news take place?
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is considering designating certain local gangs as terrorist entities to strengthen its response to gang violence. This was confirmed by Minister of Homeland Security Roger Alexander yesterday. The move follows a High Court ruling on Tuesday, which officially designated the Venezuelan criminal group Tren de Aragua as a terrorist organization based on Section 22B of the Anti-Terrorism Act and UN Security Council Resolution 1373. This designation prohibits any dealings with the group and mandates the freezing of its assets. Providing any support or assistance to Tren de Aragua is now a criminal offence under local anti-terrorism laws. Minister Alexander said the government is assessing how to apply similar legal measures against local gangs, citing increasing gang warfare and intelligence indicating potential escalations in criminal activity. The removal of personal security details from former Prime Ministers Dr. Keith Rowley and Stuart Young was based on a threat assessment conducted by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, not linked to recent pension legislation. This was confirmed by Minister of Homeland Security Roger Alexander in an interview yesterday. He clarified that although Young's security detail was withdrawn a day after the government passed a bill revoking the pension of former prime ministers, the two events were unrelated. Alexander explained that the TTPS determined there were no longer credible threats to either individual, making the personal security detail unnecessary. He acknowledged the timing might raise questions. but emphasized the decision was purely based on police intelligence and procedures, not political motivations. 13 former employees of the Tobago House of Assembly will receive a total of $4.3 million in compensation following an industrial court ruling in a dispute brought by the Advocate Trade Union. The court found that the workers, whose contracts were terminated after a change in administration in 2022, are entitled to payment for unused vacation leave, remaining contract periods, and prorated gratuity. The final payouts, issued on June 30th, range from around $151,000 to $400,000, with the highest going to Kosi King Morris. Despite the THA filing a notice of appeal, the court issued the final order requiring all amounts to be paid by September 30th, 2025. A Freeport widow has been awarded $500,000 in damages after the High Court ruled her constitutional rights were violated in a dangerous driving case that led to her husband's death in 2011. Justice Kevin Ramcharan found the state failed Maureen Dilchan Maharaj by mishandling the prosecution of the driver charged with her husband's death. That driver, Ronald Farfan, was eventually freed in 2017 after the case was dismissed due to lack of prosecution. The ruling revealed repeated police failures, including non-attendance by the investigating officer and failure to serve witness summonses. Maharaj was awarded $350,000 in compensation and $150,000 in vindicatory damages, plus interest and legal costs. The Southwest Regional Health Authority and San Fernando General Hospital are facing legal action after the death of a premature baby born alive at 24 weeks. In a pre-action letter, Attorney Ted Roop-Nareen accuses the hospital of negligence and misclassifying the birth as a miscarriage despite the baby being born, breathing and moving. The mother reportedly gave birth in a hospital ward with no staff present, and the baby was denied immediate care, only reaching NICU 2 hours later. The baby died 2 weeks after birth. The family is demanding a public apology, compensation, and a full review of hospital protocols. You are listening to news on New Era TT Radio. In international news, in a stunning courtroom development, 30-year-old Brian Koberger has pleaded guilty to the 2022 murders of 4 college students in Moscow, Idaho, avoiding the death penalty through a plea deal. Koberger, a former criminology PhD student, admitted to killing Kaylee Goncalves, Ethan Chapin, Zana Kernodle, and Madison Mogan in their off-campus home. During the hearing, Judge Stephen Hippler confirmed Koberger waived his right to appeal or seek leniency. The deal has divided victims' families, with Kaylee Goncalves' father calling it a deal with the devil, while Madison Mogan's family said it brought closure. Koberger's sentencing is set for July 23rd, with a life sentence expected. He was arrested weeks after the killings, with DNA from a knife sheath linking him to the crime. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio. Net Radio.
This summer, give your child skills of a lifetime with several boot camp. Children between the ages of 5 to 17, come enjoy Children Iron Chef Competition. Your child will learn to prepare healthy breakfast, lunch, dinner, CPR, first aid, and conflict management. With field trip, your child will be given free apron and certification upon completion. Call 492-7397 or 336-4935. Institute of Health and Fitness Company Limited, located at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box. Have you heard? The hilarious adult comedy Married and Mischievous is coming to an end. No. Where are the last shows? I'll tell you. Port of Spain. Final 2 shows at Queen's Hall on Friday, July 4th and Saturday, July 5th at 8:30 p.m. And our absolutely last show is on Sunday, July 6th in Sapa, San Fernando. Tickets available in all usual outlets in North and South. Don't miss the comedy that everybody is raving about. Check RSRR Productions Theatre on social media. And remember, strictly adults only. It's a bacchanal. So the breakfast show has come to an end for this morning. Have a fantastic day, whatever you do. Remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health. And of course, the Married and Mischievous starts tomorrow night. Can you believe it? Friday night at 8:30, Saturday at 8:30 in Queen's Hall, Port of Spain, and Sunday at 6:30 in Sapa in San Fernando. Get your tickets early. The Queen's Hall box office opens from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. and tickets are available at all the usual outlets. And of course, the box office at Sapa is also open 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily for the South Show, which is on Sunday. You should not miss Married and Mischievous. Trust me, it will get you in a good mood if you're not in a good mood. And if you're in a good mood, it'll get you in a fantastic mood after you see it.
All right. Well, again, my apologies for my camera issues today. I will try to get it fixed.
Yeah, check RSRR Productions Theatre on all social media for all of the information of how you can purchase tickets online. And of course, all of the comments of people who have seen this show before. It is phenomenal. Have a great day. Keep on the stream, NewEraTTRadio.com or New Era TT Radio on TuneIn. The programming continues.
All right, let me say a special good morning to the folks at Furniture Plus and Mr. Amjad Ali in particular.
Yeah, good morning, Amjad.
Yes, have a great day, people. Remember, one life, live it. Oh, by the way, who says some tonight in St. James? The Muslim commemoration. It starts tonight in St. James.
All right, so have a fantastic day, people. This has been The Breakfast Show.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The Breakfast Show got the vibes started.